President Donald Trump said Sunday that he's not joking about when it comes to him serving a third term. He is considering ways to basically breach a constitutional barrier so that he can continue to lead in a third term after his second term ends in 2028. Then Trump had elaborated to reporters on Air Force One flying from Florida to Washington that I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which in a way is a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election, was totally rigged. And that statement has sparked a huge amount of controversy between the American people. In this video, we're going to look at some of the possibilities of this scenario and see if it's a real chance of actually happening. So make sure you watch to the end so that you don't miss any of the key points. I want to start off with this first clip of President Trump being asked about the possibility. He is in an interview and he kind of hinted to his supporters what he's going to do because he's been constantly asked about it. Watch this.
You were not joking about a third term, about possibly wanting a third term. Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. So it's actually sort of a fourth term in a certain way. I just don't want the credit for the second because Biden was so bad. He did such a bad job. And I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. I said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that. But I've had a lot of people. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a third term?
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we're doing. Most importantly, they love the job we're doing.
We can hear a reporter asking Trump, so you're really not going to leave office? That is when Trump spoke about how the previous 2020 election was rigged and that he doesn't even want to talk about a third term right now because they have a long way to go. And he loves to throw in there that a lot of people continue to tell him, you've got to run again, you've got to run again. And if those people are doing that, all it's going to do is encourage him to make him truly make it happen. Moving on, let's take a look at this other clip. And I personally found this clip very interesting because they asked Trump how would he feel to run against Obama.
I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a third term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you?
I'd love that.
For his third term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that. No, people are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that. But I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years. Time is flying, but it's still close to 4 years, and we're getting a lot of credit for having done a great job in the first almost 100 days.
He's basically saying to me, he's up for the challenge. And if they want to run Barack Obama, he's going to do it. He's going to run right against him. And then he continued to say how the people want him to run. He keeps coming back saying that the people are the reason that he should run for another term because they're asking for it. Trump also included that he's never looked into it himself, them having him run a third term, but he did say that there is a way that is being bounced around of how you could do it. And in my personal opinion, if for some reason he does run a third term and the Democrats are able to use Barack Obama to run against him, I feel like that will split the world even more than it is now. The Republican and Democratic parties will be so far apart and unwilling to work together because they want their person to win so that they can be basically in control of what's happening in America. I want to take a look at this CNN clip that was briefly going over all of the previous other times that President Trump has joked about having a third term. And it's important because now the matter is turning serious. Let's watch this.
President Donald Trump on the record saying he's not ruling out another run for the White House, telling NBC News, quote, there are methods by which he could do it. Now, the president is limited to 2 terms by the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, but that has not stopped President Trump from flirting with this idea before.
It will be the greatest honor of my life to serve not once, but twice, or 3 times, or 4 times. Headlines from the fake news. Now it will be to serve twice.
Should I run again? You tell me.
There's your controversy right there. There's your controversy.
We can see multiple clips of President Trump joking about serving another term after his third. The reporter even went back to a conversation that Trump had with Kristen Welker, asking, "Are you joking?" And President Trump clearly says, no, he is not joking. For me, that is a problem, because if we look at the Constitution, the 22nd Amendment, no one is supposed to run 2 terms. And yes, that is the rule. But there are ways they can get around it, especially if they wrap in and use the 12th Amendment as well, about presidents not being able to be reelected. They can't be elected to be president again. But if they're still constitutionally eligible and they're not ineligible to be there, they can kind of do it. But the only way that can happen is by ratifying certain amendments that haven't been ratified in years, as well as having electoral college and representative votes that most likely wouldn't work either. They would have to go through a lot of jumps and hurdles to change the law if they wanted it to be legally done. But in the Constitution itself, it also doesn't say consecutive terms. It just says it can't happen. People will use that. They will say that because it isn't consecutive and he wasn't, President Biden was inside on that break, he can do it, as well as using the part of him becoming vice president and then the position getting reassigned to him. In my head, if they do try to go about it legally, they might end up trying to bring this topic to the Supreme Court and see how the Supreme Court is viewing that constitutional amendment to see if they can use it or find ways around it. Because it's not entirely correct that they have to only do 2 terms. They can come back, but it's not as easy as some people would think. Another point to consider is using the 22nd Amendment if we go towards the 25th Amendment. And that's telling the ways of how the president can hold office, or people being elected from holding the position of president. I also want to share a specific tweet with you guys. This tweet is very simple, and it basically shows a 4-step plan of how Trump could have a 3rd term. Step 1, JD Vance runs for president with Donald Trump as his running mate. Step 2, they win the election. Step 3, Vance resigns as president. Step 4, Trump assumes the presidency. From reading that tweet, we can see that as being a possible outcome. That could be something that is being in the works and spoken of. And regardless if it's happening or not, people are going to start looking towards Trump as being a dictator. Like I said before, that's not the way our American government should be ran. So hopefully he is just playing and joking around. If this was to actually happen, I don't know what the outcome could be. Or will the people just accept it? Will they run with it, and will this become the new normal? I want to hear your thoughts about it. Do you think going around and doing the loopholes to give Trump a 3rd term is okay? Or are they invalidating the Constitution? Let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you next time on KW Lawholic.